On behalf of the National Alliance for Public Charter Schools, welcome to the 23rd National Charter Schools Conference. We are thrilled to be back in Texas this year, where the charter school community is bustling with energy and enthusiasm, thanks to the leadership of the Texas Charter Schools Association and its leader, Starlee Coleman. Starlee, please stand up. Thanks to Starlee and her team, we are seeing huge momentum in support of policies that advocate for the growth of high-quality charter schools in this very state. Around the country, the charter school movement is seeing tremendous progress, as well as some daunting challenges. While COVID is finally in the rearview mirror, learning loss and mental health challenges are still very much with us and will be for a while. What's more, student achievement across public education on every single indicator demonstrates just how much ground we've lost during the pandemic. Our lowest income students have suffered the most, and bringing them up back to speed will require tremendous work. And yet, even during these challenging times and these times of great uncertainty, families continued to come to our schools. They have confidence in our ability to educate, to inspire, and to lead by example. In fact, the takeaway, as far as I'm concerned, from the past few years is pretty clear. It's time for us to do what we do best. No one knows better than the charter school sector how to catch up students who have fallen behind academically, how to nurture students who have suffered from trauma, or how to innovate in the face of a changing world. Unfortunately, over the past year, many legislatures have responded to what charter schools are delivering and what parents, quite frankly, are demanding. In statehouses across the country, we've racked up some pretty impressive wins since we were together last. Let's start with Montana. In Montana, we now have a law that allows for charter schools to open. Yes. This is a huge victory after years of trying and leaves us with only 4 states without a charter school law. In New York City, we now have a path to open new charter schools in that city. That's right. In Arkansas, we now have a law that improves what was in place before, but also lifts the cap on charter school growth. In Indiana, charter schools now receive more funding across a range of programs. In Idaho, we now have 2 bills that open access to charter school facilities finance. There have also been victories in Alabama, Colorado, Florida, Oklahoma, Texas, Wisconsin, West Virginia, and Wyoming. Hopefully I didn't miss anyone in the room. So, yes. And at the federal level, we've been able to keep the annual allocation for the federal charter schools program at nearly $500 million. These victories on policy and funding testify to the great work of everyone in this room today: educators, administrators, board members, donors, thought leaders, charter support organizations, and associations. Please give yourselves a round of applause. And yet, even with our successes, as all of you know, we face several key challenges. These are the top 3 that I wanted to go over with you today. First, it's the fiscal cliff. During the pandemic, K-12 public education received huge increases in emergency funding as well as increases in Title I outlays. This money is about to expire over the next 2 years, and so you need to be ready on 2 fronts. First, of course, make sure that your own budgets take this dip into account. And second, and if it hasn't started already, be prepared for the age-old criticism by district bureaucrats that charter schools drain money away from public schools. Now, the National Alliance and our partners will continue to make the case for increased funding, especially for programs like Title I, but we can't do this work alone. If you haven't done so already, now's the time to connect with your state charter school association, to get to know your elected officials, your community leaders, and most of all, to mobilize your parents. That's right. Invite your county commissioner to tour your school. Set up that meeting in the office of your mayor. Remember, these individuals were elected to represent you. But if they don't know who you are and what you stand for, it will be that much easier for them to stand with our opposition when the going gets tough. The second challenge, which is related to the first, has to do with our identity as public schools. Now, saying that charter schools are not public schools used to be a talking point used by our opposition. Now the idea is gaining momentum in some courts. The outcome could have a significant impact on the future of our movement. Now, let's be clear. Every single statute ever written considers charter schools public schools. Every single statute. Indeed, the people who first conceptualized the concept of charter schools, Ember, are you in the room? There you go, yes. We have one of them right here. Those who conceptualized and then wrote the laws to create charter schools did so to improve the overall quality of public education. That remains our mission at the National Alliance and throughout this movement to this day. Everyone in this room who works at a charter school works at a public school. The only difference is that instead of being accountable to an elected school board, most of you are accountable to an independent authorizer, to your community, and most of all, to your parents. And sadly, most people are not aware of this fact. And that's why we need to redouble our efforts to make sure that they know that public charter schools are an important part of the public education fabric of our country. Every attendee here today needs to reinforce this point. Make sure your websites clearly articulate that you're a school that is free, public, and open to all. Make sure you reiterate this message every time you're talking to an elected official, to a community leader, to your parent, until you get tired of saying it. We believe in public schools, but we also believe that our public schools should be as unique as the students we serve, and we believe that all of our schools should be schools of choice, a school that a parent opts to send their child into. That's right. And regardless of what any court may say, we will always stay open and be open to every single child who wants to attend our schools. We will always fight for a public education that prepares our students to live in this great democracy, a task that is more important now than it's ever been. And that brings me to the third challenge, or opportunity for some of you in the room, technology. Now, as we go about our day-to-day lives, a once-in-a-lifetime disruption is taking place all around us. Raise your hands if you have played around with ChatGPT. There you go, this is quite a few people. Ask this remarkable technology a question, any question, and then wait for your jaw to drop as the answers come pouring in complete sentences and paragraphs. Need to summarize chapter 9 of your history book? No problem. Need to draft a bill to close the achievement gap? I think our friends at 50CAN asked that question recently. Done. Need a 5-paragraph essay on the meaning of To Kill a Mockingbird? You got it. And yet, even as artificial intelligence is set to change just about everything around us, we must remain in charge of where it takes us. It will become even more important for everyone in this room to equip your students with the skills they need to develop their own understanding of critical questions like how racism impacts the criminal justice system, why integrity matters, or why it's a sin to kill a mockingbird. In other words, never has your job as educators been more important. And as Americans, we seem to be fractured these days over just about every issue conceivable: climate change, reproductive rights, gun control. But here's the thing, as advocates and champions of charter schools, we know that our differences don't weaken us. Our differences make us stronger. We have schools that focus on the classical liberal arts, like Great Hearts, and schools that are focused on the needs of Native American students in a culturally affirming setting, like the Dream Dene Charter School in New Mexico. We welcome this diversity. We have schools that were founded by our own founder, the social justice warrior, Dr. Howard Fuller, and our good friend, Dr. Margaret Fortune, and schools that were founded by Arizona State University President Michael Crow, great innovator, and also schools founded by Mr. 305, Temple, yes. We value and celebrate this diversity. What's more, as champions of public charter schools, we refuse to let others define who we are. Instead, we will always stand together, bound by what unites us, a belief that there is always more than one right answer, and that in education, one size does not fit all. Indeed, when confronted with a challenge, charter champions don't shy away. We go where others have given up and achieve things no one thought was possible. We rise to the occasion because we're used to overcoming the odds. So, while you're here in Austin over the next few days, I hope you'll take a few minutes to reward yourself and appreciate everything that you've accomplished over the past year, and look forward to the opportunities ahead. Our job as educators is to train the leaders of tomorrow, and there is no greater privilege. Thank you for your tireless, fearless, heroic dedication, and welcome to Austin.